Hello, this is McTagg from Fly-Carpin, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use the Bimini Twist to attach your tippet to your tapered leader section when fly fishing for carp or other big game such as steelhead or salmon. When you're fishing for big fish, you put a lot of strain on your knots. I like the Bimini Twist because it's a 100% knot, and when tied correctly, you're virtually assured of not breaking off at that connection. When you use knots such as the surgeon's knot, the blood knot, the Albright knot, and there are a couple other choices out there, typically that knot is actually weaker or barely stronger than the knot you use to connect to your fly. First, I'm going to go on ahead and tie a Bimini Twist in some fly line in detail to give you an idea of the steps. First, we start with about an 8-inch loop around your two fingers on this end, captured between your thumb and your pincher finger on the other end. Okay, and I'm going to put in twists by spinning my fingers like this. In 3X I typically use 25. In fly line I'm just going to go until it starts to get tight here, which is about now. Alright, then I'm going to wet it. That helps to collapse down the wraps without putting too much strain on the standing section of the line. Okay, now usually what I'll do at this point is I'll bring my pinky finger, I'll fold the knot, come over and pinch the end in these two other fingers. That allows me to have a little bit of control and get this tag end in what I call my third hand. However you tie the Bimini Twist, it requires 3 hands. Unfortunately, we only have 2, so we got to use something else. The saltwater guys, they don't care about wasting tippet. They usually use their knee and create a big, huge loop that wastes a lot of tippet. With this methodology, we're going to create a rather small loop that does not waste much tippet. Okay, so in this case, my third hand is my mouth. Let's get going with that. Alright, now, so I've got the standing end in my left hand, the tag end in my mouth, my 25 twists, which in this case are 10, 15, and my fingers through the loop. Okay, the first step is you pull your left hand away from your mouth to collapse the wraps. Okay, and there's a little bit of feel that you have to develop for how tightly to collapse those wraps. That just comes out with practice. Okay, the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to use my thumb to pop the tag end up over the end of the twist. Okay, then I'm going to spread my fingers, maybe stick my thumb in there if it helps, and let my head move towards the knot as I spread my fingers, and it will overwrap around those twists. As I get closer to the end of the knot, or to the loop, I'm going to try, by controlling the angle of the tag end, to force the loops to get closer to each other. So in other words, I want my overwraps to start out with a little bit of space between them and get tighter and tighter and tighter until the last 2 to 4 overwraps are right next to each other. Okay, so I've reached over, I've captured the knot with the middle finger and thumb of my left hand. The next step is to lock this knot. In order to lock this knot, we just use a simple half hitch around one leg of the doubled section. Okay? Now, there's actually no rule that says you can only tie one half hitch, so I'm going to go on ahead and tie another one just in case you didn't see that. Okay, so all you do is stick the tag end through the doubled section and bring it back through the loop that creates. Alright? Alright, I've locked that one twice. Doesn't matter. All the lock is there for is to stabilize the knot. It's not stable now. I can rest my fingers, rest my hands, scratch my nose, think about the carp that's on the other side of the river. I've got a little bit of time, alright, before I do the final step, which is to do another half hitch, except this time I'm going to go around both legs of the doubled line, and I'm going to go through 3 times instead of 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I'm going to pull that tight, a little bit away from the end of the knot. I'll typically put some saliva on there to help this lock down. And then I'm going to rock back and forth, tightening in this direction, pulling the knot closer in this direction, until it comes firm against the Bimini Twist. And that knot is complete. As a matter of fact, got a little bit cleaner example that I took a little bit more time on. Not sure if you can see that. The wraps on this end have a little bit of space between them. And as they get closer, they get tighter and tighter. Alright. The next step in actually using this for a tippet connection is that, okay, so I've got my doubled section of line, my Bimini Twist, and my tippet. I want to attach that to my tapered leader. In this case, my tapered leader is going to be some old crummy orange fly line. All I'm going to do is put the end of that tapered leader alongside my doubled line loop, and I'm going to tie a double surgeon's knot between those two. One time through. This is actually fairly difficult with fly line, surprisingly enough. And well, this is almost harder than the surgeon's, harder than the Bimini Twist. Just because this stuff's so thick. 2. Alright. And wet the knot, tighten it down from all directions, and now you've got your tapered leader, double surgeon's knot, doubled line, Bimini Twist, and my tippet section. Alright, now that we've gone through the knot in a little bit of detail, I'm going to go on ahead and just tie one full speed. This is to give you an idea of how quickly it can be done on the water, and start to give you a feel for the idea that this is not that intimidating of a knot. Right? I'm going to tie it in 15-pound amnesia. That's a little bit thicker than the lines that I usually tie it in, so I'm going to use 20 wraps instead of 25. Alright? And we're just going to go on ahead and get started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Went ahead and wet the twists. Grab the tag in with my third hand. Compress the wraps. Pop it over with my thumb. Expand the loop while letting my head come towards the knot. And using the angle of the line to start to tighten the wraps as it gets towards the end of the knot. I'm going to half hitch it to lock it. And I'm going to apply the final lock with 3 turns. 1, 2, 3. Tighten it a little way. Lubricate it. Rock it back and forth. Tighten it down all the way. Okay, that knot is complete. It's now ready to be tied on to my tapered leader.